Hello, my name is Jack Edwards, and this time last year I was rejected by Oxford University, and that's okay. The reason that I wanted to make this video today is because I feel like YouTube and social media in general can be very oversaturated with success stories, and failure is kind of seen as not being an option, but that's not really true to life, and in life we do fail, and sometimes things that we dream about, even if we dream about them for years, don't come true and don't come to fruition, and that's what I wanted to talk about, especially because I know that in a few days this year's Oxford and Cambridge applicants will be receiving either an acceptance or a rejection. So I wanted to talk about the latter. For as long as I can remember, I have aspired to attend either Oxford or Cambridge University and read English literature. One thing I actually didn't realise before going through this whole process is that you can actually only apply to either Oxford or Cambridge. You cannot apply to both. So I went to open days, I did extensive research on the courses, and eventually I fell in love with Oxford. And so I embarked on the emotional heptathlon that is the Oxbridge admissions process. I think the first major difference about applying to either Oxford or Cambridge is that you have to apply early, so you have to apply by October the 15th, whereas everyone else applying through UCAS has to apply by like January kind of time. To be totally honest with you, this isn't a bad thing at all. I was quite grateful to get my personal statement and UCAS application out of the way. So yeah, I sent off my UCAS application, my personal statement, and a piece of written work because that's what the Oxford English department required. So I sent off an essay about children's role in protest in William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. I applied to New College because I thought it was beautiful. I really liked the college. Also, notably, a scene from Harry Potter was filmed there, and that might have been the determining factor. So after my initial application went through, I had to do an admissions test, and I think this took place on the 2nd of November. I actually had to cancel a trip to Poland that I was meant to be going on so that I could take the admissions test, so I was dedicated. I mean, it didn't really pay off, but that's beside the point. I did okay on the test. You actually can find out how you did on the admissions test in like January time, I think. And this is after you've already found out whether you were accepted or rejected. And I actually did surprisingly well on the admissions test, so I must have really fluffed up the interview. Found out at the end of November. I want to say that I had an interview a week later. You actually get to stay in Oxford, which is really, really cool. So I got to stay overnight in Oxford for 2 nights, and it was just incredible, regardless of what happened at the end, which I will get to, but I'm so grateful for that opportunity, getting to live in an Oxford college, being part of that history, and it was all catered. We had like really amazing food. We had guinea fowl for lunch, which was just insane. It was actually quite a nice atmosphere. Everyone was really friendly and lovely. All of the student helpers from Oxford were great. Like, made the whole process seem a bit more human. So the English interviews were split over 2 days, and they were done in alphabetical order. So I had 3 interviews on the first day and none on the second day, which, I mean, I don't know if that is the best way of doing it, just because 3 interviews in one day was intense. I mean, you know, whatever, that's how they chose to do it. My first interview of the day was at 11 AM, and it was just the worst thing I have ever done. What I had to do was go into a room for half an hour and read a poem, and then a student helper took me into the office of the interviewer, and then we sat and discussed the poem for kind of the first half, and then she asked me some other questions about like broader literature. I found the poem that she gave me to read really difficult to kind of comprehend. It was a really confusing one, so I gave it my best shot, and I thought I kind of made some valid-ish points, and then she moved on to talking about wider poetry. She actually asked me to recite a line of iambic pentameter to her from my own reading, and I just went blank. I just wasn't confident enough in what I was saying. So if you are watching this and you have an interview, just be confident in what you're saying. Like, if you're wrong, they will help guide you to the right answer. They're not there to trip you up, they're just testing you. My brain just like shut down, and I panicked, and you know, it wasn't ideal. Anyway, so that interview went terribly, and I left that interview, and I remember shutting the door behind me and just standing there with my head in my hands, and I was gutted, and I had to walk downstairs, and I saw the student helper, and obviously they're like, "Oh, how did it go?" And I couldn't even speak, so I was just like, it wasn't good. And I knew, I think, by then I probably wasn't cut out for it. My next 2 interviews actually went very well. I really enjoyed the second one, but the second one, okay, and this is a point actually. In my personal statement, I'd written about the book Lolita. The doctor who was doing the interview said to me, right, so you mentioned Lolita in your personal statement, then reached down to his drawer, pulled open the drawer, pulled out the book Lolita, and he was like, tell me how it begins. What? I was like, oh my God. It was like testing that I actually read all of the books that I'd written on my personal statement, which like, I applaud them for. Like, that's gonna catch out so many people. Luckily, and I would recommend this to everyone, I did read the books that I'd written about on my personal statement, so I could actually answer. But I read Lolita on holiday like 2 years before, just on a sunbed by the pool. So it really did test me to actually remember how that book began. So I left the second one feeling quite good, and then my third one was kind of like a middle ground. Like it was fine, it went all right. The guy actually asked me what the difference between English and Latin grammar is. The pretext of this is that I did a Latin GCSE alongside my A-levels, so obviously that was on my application somewhere. So it does prove that they read your whole application, like nothing is missed out. But at this point in time, I'd only just started the Latin GCSE, so I actually hadn't studied any Latin grammar at all. I genuinely didn't know. And they generally kind of have a set number of questions that they've planned for you that are personal to your application and the things you've said about yourself. And unfortunately, I couldn't answer it because I hadn't got that far in the course yet. You know, things didn't go overly well in the interviews. After your day of interviews, you then find out whether any other colleges want to interview you. None of them did. So I was sent on my way. I think you can stay for like 4 days maximum. I only had to stay for 2, and then I was kind of pushed out kicking and screaming. Anyway, I got the train home, and I remember turning up at my front door, and I saw my parents, and they obviously spoke to me about it, and I was just like, it went so badly. And at that moment in time, I was truly devastated. Like, gutted does not even come close to how I felt. So yeah, I was quite inconsolable on that day. I was really devastated. But anyway, eventually it came to January. I remember I was sitting in a history class when the email came through, and I opened it, and I looked straight away for the word unfortunately. And lo and behold, there it was. Unfortunately, you were not successful. And it was expected. I kind of knew it was coming. I wasn't surprised. Obviously, I was disappointed. I was gutted, but it didn't come as a total shock. I was buzzing at the fact I even got an interview. I really was not expecting to get an interview at all. There were people at my interview who were going, oh yeah, on my 8th mock interview, I think I did really well. On my 7th one, I completely messed it up. And I was like, what? You had that many mock interviews? Like, I didn't have one. Some of those people had been expecting their whole academic careers to go the Oxbridge route. Like, I just dreamed about it. But also, what I wanted to say is that I'm not bitter about it at all. I obviously wanted to share my experience, and make the whole like rejection a bit more normalised, because it is normal to be, you know, to not get in. The interviewers were incredible. The whole experience, the hospitality that Oxford showed to us was insane. I really enjoyed the open days. The whole process was really smooth and made a lot easier than it could have been, because it could have been so much more stressful. But anyway, I did receive my rejection letter, and I was gutted for like 24 hours. For that day, I was devastated. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, you know what? I now have to prove them wrong. And so I worked my arse off. I worked so hard. The fact that I'd been told, you're not good enough to go here, made me want to prove to them that I was better than that. The Oxford grade expectations are 3 A's. So I went and got 3 A stars. Not just to prove Oxford wrong, like I'm not that like angry and bitter. It was a motivational thing. I think that you have to use failure and experiences of rejection to motivate yourself to do better next time. I actually got an offer from Durham University, as many of you who follow this channel will know. I got an offer from Durham, which is actually in the league tables higher for my subjects than Oxford is. I was very surprised. Oops. I now go to Durham University, and it's bloody brilliant. I love it. So what I wanted to say is that things actually do work out for a reason. Everything really does happen for a reason, and I'm such a strong, firm believer in that. If I had not been rejected from Oxford University, then I would not have met the incredible people that I've met at Durham, and I would not have got to experience the things that I've got to experience. Durham, I think, is actually the perfect university for me, and I didn't realise that. And hey, if I got into Oxford, I'd probably be saying exactly the same thing about Oxford, but I didn't, and I got into Durham, and I love it. And I think that the whole Oxbridge application process can be quite overwhelming. It kind of encompasses you, especially because you have to apply earlier, specifically for Oxbridge. The fact that I went to the interview and stayed in Oxford, I went and had my dinner in the great halls. You know, you get a little taste of what it's like to actually go to Oxford, and once you've had that taste, it's hard to let that go. It's like if someone gave me a bag of cookies, I'm not going to want to just eat the top one, I'm going to want to eat the whole thing, because they're delicious. I think you get really absorbed into the whole process, and that makes the rejection 10 times harder. So what I wanted to say with this video is, if you receive an Oxford or Cambridge rejection in a few days, or if you already have, it's not the end of the world. Life goes on, and I know it will feel like the whole world to you, it did to me, but I've never been so happy 1 year on. I love what I'm doing, I love the people I'm surrounded by, and I'm doing an incredible course at an incredible place. And there are so many other opportunities. Again, I mean absolutely no disrespect to either Oxford or Cambridge. When I finish my degree at Durham, I would love to go and do a master's, and I will hopefully apply to either Oxford or Cambridge again and give it another go. It's still my dream to go to one of those universities, no matter what. So if there's any chance that someone from Oxford or Cambridge is watching this video, then you know where I am, hit me up, make that hotline bling. But yeah, the point I wanted to make is that failure is not the end of the road. For me, actually, it was an opportunity to reassess and reset, and the end destination actually turned out to be something incredible. If you don't fail every so often, then you're probably not doing anything worthwhile, you're probably not doing anything innovative. So I think failure is just as important as success. In fact, it's part of success. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it helped. I hope it helped to kind of normalise. It does suck, but life goes on. Things will get better. As I said, things have worked out for the best for me, and I guarantee they will work out for the best for you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like if you liked it, if you like, and subscribe for more. I make new YouTube videos every single week, and loads of uni vlogs. So if you're looking for other options, check out my vlogs of Durham. I bloomin' love it. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack Edwards. Hopefully I still will be Jack Edwards next time you watch, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.